Hello and welcome to another episode of Autocar Professional Dialogue. Today we have with us Mr. Zac Hollis, the brand director for Skoda in India. Zac, thank you very much for spending out the time. And first of all, many congratulations on the launch of the new Slavia.
Thank you. I mean, it's just a gorgeous looking car. I have to say that every time I look at it, I just admire the creases on the lines, the size of the car. And when I drive the car, we've got some incredible engines. Those TSI engines are really such a lot of fun to drive and extremely efficient. So I think we've got a real winner on our hands.
That's great.
I'm very happy with things.
So I would tend to agree with you on the design and on the power the car offers. So, some really powerful engines inside. So Zac, what are the expectations of the company from the Slavia? What sort of sales numbers you're targeting in the next fiscal and what sort of market share are you looking at?
We are targeting to be segment leader with this car. That's clearly the ambition, and that means we need to sell 2,500 to 3,000 cars a month. I'm confident we can do that, and we've already got quite a steep production ramp-up curve. In the month of March alone, we will produce 3,000 cars. And actually, I'm targeting to sell in March, retail, over 2,000 cars in March alone. So we've already had really great interest in the car. We've had the cars at our dealerships now for around 2 weeks,
right?
And everybody really loves the car. So we're very happy with the car, and long term, we plan to have. This year we will more than treble the total volume from a volume last year around 23,000. We plan to circa treble that volume next year.
So would that also take up your capacity utilization at the plant?
The plant is obviously utilized for Skoda, for our sister brand Volkswagen, and also for export.
Right.
So overall now we're running 3 shifts. So that answers your question. We're now running 3 shifts, so we're confident now in what we're doing. We're confident also in the supply of semiconductors going forward, and we've been running 3 shifts now for the last couple of weeks.
Okay, you mentioned about becoming segment leaders with the Slavia. So what is the localization level in this car which is going to help you price it in a competitive manner so that you're able to eye that market share?
Localization is the most important thing in India. If you don't get the very high level of localization, you can't build a business case because you can't price cars competitively. So we have 95% localization with this car, and with the 1 litre TSI, we'll be competing head-on against the rest of the segment. With the 1.5 TSI, there is nothing that compete with this. This is 150 PS of power and 250 Newton meters of torque. It's the most powerful car in the segment, and it actually has more torque than cars from segments above. So with the 1.5 TSI, we have a real driver enthusiast car, and I'm sure if you've driven the car, you will agree it's a lot of fun to drive.
Right. So with that 1.5 Zac, so that engine is still coming imported, right? It's coming as a full import right now.
The 1.5 engine is locally assembled, but most of the parts are imported. And of course, we've got such technology like advanced cylinder technology, which cuts out 2 of the cylinders when the engine's coasting, giving the car incredible fuel efficiency from the 1.5 TSI, and a very powerful engine. But yes, it's expensive, and at the end of the day, that has to be passed on with the market price. That's why we're planning a mix of around 15% for that engine.
Okay.
And it really is a driver enthusiast car. It's a lot of fun to drive, but it's an enthusiast car. And for most people, the 1 litre TSI is perfectly good for them, and very competitive car, big car, handling very well with enough power as well.
Right. So Zac, big car handles really well. So, but we are seeing the entire midsize sedan or the entire sedan segment right now kind of slowing down significantly. So what do you think, with the Slavia coming in, is there a possibility that the market is going to be revived with the new entry of a car from Skoda?
Absolutely. I mean, if you don't get any new products launched into a segment, it will fall.
Right.
This is automatically what happens, and lots of new SUVs have been launched into the market, and that's attracted people's attention. But what we've got here is a gorgeous looking car. We've got a big car. The boot capacity on here is around 100 litres more than your average mid-sized SUV, so that's significant. We also have 179 millimeters of ground clearance here, which means you've got almost SUV level of ground clearance, which means it's a really good alternative for the SUVs in the marketplace. My forecast is that this will grow the segment. 100% virtually on top will be our volume because it will grow the segment, and within a year this segment will have doubled from new products coming into the segment, and it will revitalise everything in that sedan segment, because sedans drive so well. They're more fuel efficient because they're more aerodynamic, and with a car like this, we're going to attract a lot of people back to the sedan segment.
So is there also a threat to your own Kushaq? I mean, the Slavia and the Kushaq, there might be some sort of cannibalization within the group itself, within the family?
It's interesting. I was at a dealership around 3 weeks ago and I was talking to a customer and he said, I love the design and the styling of the Slavia. Looks gorgeous. But actually, this car is really practical.
Right.
And I think what we've got something there is something for everybody. You know, we've got a design conscious, stylish sedan, and then we've got a good-looking, practical SUV as well. So we've got something for everybody, and I'm confident we'll attract people back, and we won't get very much cannibalization because we've got two very different cars.
Sure. Zac, talking about your dealership network, so what is the retail network presence right now? And now with the Slavia coming in, it's a new product, so do you also intend to expand it further in the Indian market?
So what we've been doing for the last 3 years is preparing for these cars.
Okay.
Yeah. In the past, we had around 65 sales outlets in India, and we could only had a business case for being in mostly metro locations. Yeah. Now we're moving forward rapidly, and the volume is increasing increasing considerably, and we're currently at 153 sales outlets. So gone from 65 to 153, and we'll be at 180 by the end of this year. Yeah. That gives us the presence to be also in tiers 3 and 4 cities with our small branch concepts, and we're also bringing compact workshops, small workshops into those cities as well. So not only do we have a sales branch, but we also have a workshop locally to people as well. And this is very important in India to do that.
Right. So with the workshop concept, Zac, so you know you're coming with these smaller workshops, and you know, so with the localization, has it also really helped you to decrease the overall price of servicing of a vehicle over its entire ownership cycle?
Completely. I mean, this car from an ownership point of view is very competitive. In fact, the Slavia has a cost of ownership which is 0.46 rupees per kilometre, which is among the best in the segment. That's when you look at parts, servicing, labour, oil, etc. So 0.46 rupees per kilometre as a cost of ownership, and on top of that we have 4-year service and maintenance plans available from 24,999 as well, which give people real peace of mind. And let's not forget here, we offer people 4 years warranty as standard against most competitors 3-year warranty, plus the option to upgrade to 6 years warranty as well. So we are offering complete peace of mind and a much more affordable ownership experience.
So you're seeing the change in the customer's perception towards the brand Skoda in India?
100%. It's coming from the owners. People are making the decision to buy a Skoda, they're taking it to be serviced, and they realise it's not as expensive to own as perhaps the cars were in the past. Because you've got 95% localisation. If we go back to Rapid, it was much less. We were talking 60-65% localisation. So therefore you got 35% of the parts imported. And of course that puts up the cost of ownership. But with cars like Slavia and Kushaq, with 95% localisation, we actually make it very competitive in terms of its cost of ownership.
Right. Zac, talking about some of these challenges that we are seeing right now. So some of your, like you mentioned, the 1.5 is still being locally assembled in India. So the parts are coming from overseas. So the overall situation at the supply side, as well as the geopolitical situations that are unfolding. So do you think there's a threat going forward in the overall supply chain?
I think the answer is I don't know at the moment. I mean, everything is what's happening geopolitically is very fresh, and all I can do is pray for the people affected personally by this, and hope the situation is sorted out very soon, so that we can get back to a level of normality. So I don't know what the impact will be at the moment. I mean, we have production secured at the moment, but as I say, anything can happen.
And what about the semiconductor shortage? So is there any respite in that particular area?
I think things are improving slowly. We are getting priority as a launch market.
Okay.
Launch markets are getting priority in terms of the supply from the group, and this means that we've got good sight of production going forward. For example, in March we have a production of 3,000 Slavias in the month of March alone, and we've got sight of good levels of sight of future production as well. So having that priority is certainly helping us satisfy customers in India.
Right. And Zac, what about we're also seeing this entire transition towards electric mobility. So being one of a European brand in India, so do you also have any plans to offer customers, the Indian market, some sort of a product maybe at the flagship end right now, so as to position to create Skoda's position in the Indian market in that particular area, the EVs?
Clearly, the long-term future of automotive market in India is electric cars. We know that. We're seeing this happening in China, in Europe, and also in the US. And long-term, India will be there also. We predict that by 2030, 25 to 30% of the market will be EVs, and we will play a role in that. Whether we start up the top by importing cars is something that's still in discussion. Audi have been doing it very successfully with the e-tron.
Right.
Taycan have been very successful also for Porsche.
Right.
These are brands in our group, and of course we will be there in the future also. As part of our long-term strategy, we need to have EVs, and we will deliver that at the right time.
Would you also be looking at some sort of electrification strategies, maybe some hybridization technologies going forward?
I'm not convinced about hybrid, to be perfectly honest, because it's expensive technology.
Right.
I think the long term is EVs and not hybrid, because in effect you're paying for an internal combustion engine and an electric engine on top of that, and I don't think you get the economy really that people plan. So I'm not sure that we will bring hybrid engines and technology into India. Certainly electric cars in the long term, we will do this.
Final question, Zach. So what do you think about the demand right now in reality? Is it really a lot of pent-up demand in the market, or do you think that the recovery has happened and customer is really coming out to buy new cars at the moment?
It's a good question, and if you were to ask me that question 8 months ago, I would have said yes, there's a lot of pent-up demand out there, because our dealers were closed back in April, May last year, because we had a lot of tragedy around COVID-19, as you know. Now we're seeing strong demand. Yeah? And I think with the economic growth that's been forecasted in India, I think we're forecasting 9% in 2023. I see that strong demand continuing. Economic growth, of course, fuels the car market. People feel good about themselves, their businesses, and their livelihoods. So of course they invest in cars. So I'm seeing strong demand at the moment, and we're seeing a lot of footfall in showrooms also for people to see the Slavia. And from Monday next week, 28th, then we will start deliveries and we'll start test drives, and let's see how things go for the next 3 to 4 months. But very confident in the car, and we're seeing good demand.
Great. On that optimistic note, thank you very much, Zach, for speaking with us, and wish you all the best with the Slavia.
Thank you.
Thank you.